If you're in your 50s or 60s, you've likely reached a point where reflection becomes inevitable. Your life has been filled with responsibilities, raising a family, building a career, managing a home, and those years of constant busyness might now be starting to shift. Perhaps retirement is on the horizon, or maybe you're beginning to think about how to spend your time differently in this new phase of life. For many, this period brings a mix of excitement, curiosity, and even uncertainty about what's next. This article explores 8 profound life lessons from those who have walked the path before you. These lessons are designed to help you make the most of your 50s and 60s, ensuring that this next stage of life is not just about retirement, but about living with purpose, intention, and fulfillment. Before we get started, I'd really appreciate it if you could give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend hitting the subscribe button and turning on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future videos. 1. Recognize the 3 stages of life and don't miss the sweet spot. As you move through life, there are 3 stages that define the way you spend your time, health, and money. In your younger years, typically your 20s and 30s, you have your health and plenty of time, but you likely don't have much money. You're building your career, paying off student loans, and perhaps saving for a home. It's a time of learning, experimenting, and dreaming, but many of those dreams are deferred because of financial constraints. In your 40s and 50s, the picture changes. You're likely earning more money than ever before, and while your health is still good, you start to notice that time is becoming scarcer. Your career demands most of your attention, and if you have a family, those responsibilities take up the rest. Hobbies, travel, and personal pursuits often get put on the back burner as you juggle the many demands on your time. This is what I call the middle squeeze, where you have the money and the health, but time feels like the most precious and limited resource. By the time you reach your 60s and 70s, the equation shifts again. You may be retired or nearing retirement, so you finally have time to do the things you've always dreamed of. You also likely have more financial stability. But this is when health becomes the wild card. For many, it's a time when they start to notice physical limitations or health issues begin to crop up that slow them down. The opportunities you once took for granted, hiking, traveling, or even just walking around your favorite city, might start to feel like more of a challenge. However, there is a sweet spot that exists in your 50s and early 60s, a time when your health, wealth, and time all come together. This window of opportunity is often underappreciated. Many people in their 70s look back and wish they had taken better advantage of this period when they had the energy, the resources, and the freedom to live life more fully. They regret putting off the trips they wanted to take, the adventures they wanted to pursue, and the hobbies they wanted to explore, believing they had more time than they actually did. This sweet spot is fleeting, and the lesson here is simple. Don't wait. If there's something you've always wanted to do, whether it's traveling, starting a new hobby, or spending more time with loved ones, now is the time to do it. Don't assume that your health will hold out forever, or that there will always be later. Later often becomes never. Consider this example. A client of mine, Susan, always dreamed of hiking through the national parks in Utah. But for years, her demanding job in finance kept her from taking the time off to do it. When she finally retired in her early 60s, she realized that her knees, which had started to bother her in her late 50s, made hiking difficult. She managed to visit a few parks, but had to limit her activities. She often tells me she wishes she had made time for those trips earlier, during her sweet spot years, when she had both the health and the resources to fully enjoy them. The takeaway? Identify the things that are important to you and make time for them now. The sweet spot won't last forever, and you'll never regret making memories and experiences that enrich your life. 2. Balance the 3 types of time: career, relationships, and renewal. In the hustle and bustle of life, it's easy to get caught up in the day to day demands of your career and relationships. While these are both important, there's another type of time that often gets overlooked: renewal time. People in their 70s frequently say that they wish they had paid more attention to this third type of time because it's what ultimately gives you the energy and mental clarity to enjoy life. Let's break this down. Career time is obvious. It's the time you spend at work, building your professional life and earning a living. Relationship time is the time you dedicate to your loved ones, your spouse, children, friends, and extended family. These two types of time tend to dominate the middle years of life, especially in your 40s and 50s. But there's a third type of time that's just as important, and that's renewal time: the time you take to rest, recharge, and engage in activities that nourish your soul and rejuvenate your spirit. For many, renewal time is the first thing to go when life gets busy. You might feel guilty taking time for yourself when you have so many other responsibilities, or perhaps you've simply lost touch with the things that bring you joy and relaxation. But neglecting renewal time can have long term consequences. Without it, you can burn out, lose your sense of self, and feel depleted. Renewal time looks different for everyone. For some, it might be spending time in nature, taking a walk in the woods, gardening, or hiking. For others, it could be creative pursuits like painting, writing, or woodworking. Still, others might find renewal in physical activity, whether it's yoga, swimming, or playing tennis. The key is to identify what brings you joy and peace and to make time for it regularly. One client, Mark, rediscovered his love for rock climbing in his mid 50s. It was something he had done in his youth, but had long since abandoned as his career took over his life. Now, in his 50s, he's made rock climbing a central part of his life again. It not only keeps him physically active, but also gives him a sense of accomplishment and renewal that he hadn't felt in years. By intentionally carving out time for this activity, he's found a way to balance the demands of his career, relationships, and his own personal well being. Think about your own life. How much time are you dedicating to activities that renew you? If you're not sure what those activities are, start experimenting. Try new things, revisit old hobbies, or simply spend more time doing things that make you feel alive and engaged. It's important to make renewal time a priority, not just something you squeeze in when everything else is done. The more you invest in yourself now, the more energy and fulfillment you'll have in the years to come. 3. Learn the power of saying no. As you move into your 50s and 60s, one of the most powerful skills you can develop is the ability to say no. For many of us, the first half of life is about saying yes. You say yes to new opportunities, yes to social engagements, yes to taking on extra responsibilities at work, and yes to helping others with their problems. Saying yes has likely helped you build a successful career and strong relationships. But there comes a point when saying yes to everything can leave you feeling drained, overwhelmed, and resentful. By the time you reach your 50s, it's time to start saying no more often and without guilt. People in their 70s and 80s often express regret that they spent too much time in their 50s doing things they didn't want to do, simply because they felt obligated to say yes. They wish they had set stronger boundaries and focused more on their own needs and desires. Saying no doesn't mean you're being selfish. In fact, it's one of the most self-respecting things you can do. When you say no to things that don't serve you, you're saying yes to the things that do. Whether that's spending more time with loved ones, focusing on your health, or simply having the time and space to relax and recharge. Let's look at an example. One of my clients, Tom, spent most of his 50s feeling stretched too thin. He was a successful executive, a devoted husband and father, and an active member of his community. But by the time he reached his mid-50s, he felt exhausted. He realized that he was saying yes to too many things: extra projects at work, social events he didn't enjoy, and favors for friends and colleagues. He rarely had time for himself, and his health was starting to suffer as a result. Tom made a conscious decision to start saying no more often. He declined work projects that weren't essential to his career, turned down social invitations that didn't interest him, and set clear boundaries with colleagues and friends. The result? He felt a renewed sense of energy and freedom. He was able to focus on the things that truly mattered to him, like spending time with his family, improving his health, and pursuing personal interests. Learning to say no is one of the most empowering things you can do as you enter this new phase of life. It allows you to prioritize your own well being and happiness, which in turn makes you better able to show up for the people and things that truly matter. 4. Time is more valuable than money. Invest wisely. One of the biggest lessons that people in their 70s and 80s share is that time is infinitely more valuable than money. While the old adage time is money may have driven much of your career, by the time you reach your 50s, it's time to flip that equation. The reality is that money is renewable. No matter how much you spend, you can always make more. But time is finite. Once it's gone forever. In your 50s and 60s, you may be reaching the peak of your earning potential. Your retirement accounts are growing, your mortgage may be paid off, or nearly so, and you have the financial freedom to make choices about how you spend your time. But remember, no amount of money can buy back lost time. This is a critical period to start thinking about how to spend your time intentionally. One of the smartest ways to invest your money is to use it to buy back your time. This might mean outsourcing tasks that take up your time but don't bring you joy or fulfillment. For instance, if you don't enjoy household chores like cleaning, lawn care, or cooking, consider hiring someone to help. This frees up your time to do things that bring you more happiness and satisfaction, whether that's spending time with family, pursuing hobbies, or simply relaxing. One of my clients, Linda, decided to start outsourcing tasks like house cleaning and yard work in her late 50s. She realized that while she could do these tasks herself, they weren't things she enjoyed, and they took up time that she would rather spend with her grandchildren or pursuing her passion for painting. By hiring help, she was able to buy back several hours a week, which she then used to focus on the things that truly mattered to her. Another way to invest your money and time is by hiring professionals to help with tasks that require specialized knowledge. For example, many of my clients choose to work with financial advisors to manage their investments, tax planning, and retirement strategies. While they could learn to do these things themselves, they recognize that their time is better spent on activities that bring them joy, while leaving the financial details to someone who is an expert in the field. The bottom line is that time is your most precious asset. As you move into your 50s and 60s, think carefully about how you're spending it. Are you using your time in ways that align with your values and bring you fulfillment? Or are you wasting it on activities that don't add value to your life? By being intentional about how you invest both your time and money, you can create a life that is richer and more rewarding in every sense of the word. 5. Invest in your health now, not later. If there's one piece of advice that nearly every person in their 70s and 80s wishes they had followed earlier, it's this: invest in your health. Your health is your most important asset, and the choices you make in your 50s and 60s will determine how well you age in your later years. It's easy to put off taking care of your health, especially when you're busy with work, family, and other responsibilities. But neglecting your health in your 50s can have serious consequences down the road. The good news is that it's never too late to start making positive changes. Regular exercise, a healthy diet, and good sleep habits are all essential components of maintaining your physical health. But just as important as your mental health, stress, anxiety, and depression can all take a toll on your overall well being. So it's crucial to find ways to manage your mental health as well. One of my clients, Barbara, experienced a dramatic transformation in her late 60s after the sudden death of her husband. She had always been relatively healthy, but the stress and grief of losing her partner took a toll on both her physical and mental health. She started gaining weight, her energy levels plummeted, and she found it difficult to focus on anything other than her loss. After a few months, Barbara decided that she needed to make a change. She started attending a local yoga class, began meditating daily, and made a commitment to eating healthier meals. Within a year, she looked and felt like a completely different person. Her energy levels were higher, her mood had improved, and she felt more in control of her life. She often tells me that making her health a priority was the best decision she ever made, and she feels like she added 10 healthy years to her life. The lesson here is simple. Don't wait until you're in your 70s to start taking care of your health. The habits you establish in your 50s and 60s will determine the quality of your life in the decades to come. By investing in your physical and mental health now, you can increase your chances of living a longer, healthier, and more fulfilling life. 6. Avoid the trap of status symbols. Seek meaning over materialism. As you approach retirement, it's common to feel a sense of accomplishment. You've worked hard, built a career, raised a family, and achieved financial stability. It's natural to want to reward yourself for all that hard work, and many people do so by purchasing status symbols, whether it's a luxury car, an expensive watch, or a second home. There's nothing inherently wrong with buying nice things, but the problem comes when these purchases are motivated by a desire to project success, fit in with a certain social group, or fill a void that material possessions simply can't satisfy. Many people in their 70s and 80s look back and realize that the thrill of buying these status symbols wears off quickly, and they often regret spending money on things that didn't bring lasting happiness. One of my clients, Jack, always dreamed of owning a luxury sports car. After retiring in his early 60s, he decided to buy a brand new Porsche as a way to celebrate his success. At first, he was thrilled with the purchase. It made him feel young, successful, and relevant. But after a few months, the excitement started to fade. He realized that the car wasn't bringing him the joy he had anticipated, and he found himself driving it less and less. Looking back, Jack wishes he had spent the money on experiences rather than possessions. He realized that what truly brought him happiness wasn't owning an expensive car, but spending time with his family, traveling, and pursuing hobbies that gave his life meaning. If you're considering a big purchase, take some time to reflect on your motivations. Are you buying something because it will truly enhance your life, or because you want to project a certain image? True fulfillment comes from meaningful experiences and relationships, not from material possessions. If you're not sure whether a purchase will bring lasting happiness, consider renting or borrowing the item first. You might find that the experience is enough and you don't need to own the item to enjoy it. 7. Don't expect expenses to decrease in retirement. One of the biggest misconceptions about retirement is that your expenses will automatically decrease. While it's true that some costs, like commuting or work-related expenses, may go down, many retirees find that their spending actually increases in the first few years of retirement. In your 50s and 60s, it's important to start tracking your expenses and planning for the future. Retirement often brings new opportunities for travel, hobbies, and experiences that you didn't have time for while working. But these activities can also come with a price tag. One of my clients, Steve, was shocked when he realized how much more he was spending in retirement than he had anticipated. He and his wife had always planned to travel extensively once they retired, but the cost of frequent trips added up quickly. In addition, they found themselves dining out more often, spending money on new hobbies, and upgrading their home to better suit their retirement lifestyle. To avoid being caught off guard, start tracking your expenses now using a tool like Monarch Money or another budgeting app. This will give you a clear picture of where your money is going and help you plan for any adjustments you may need to make in retirement. Remember, the goal isn't to restrict your spending, but to ensure that you have enough money to support the lifestyle you want in retirement. 8. Plan for purpose, not just leisure in retirement. Retirement is often seen as the reward for decades of hard work, a time to relax, unwind, and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But many retirees quickly discover that leisure alone is not enough to bring lasting happiness. After the initial excitement of having free time wears off, some people find themselves feeling bored, restless, or even depressed. This is because leisure, while enjoyable, is not the same as purpose. Purpose is what gives our lives meaning, and without it, retirement can start to feel empty. People in their 70s and 80s often say that they wish they had spent more time thinking about what they wanted to do in retirement, not just how they wanted to relax. One of my clients, Frank, retired from a high stress career in law in his early 60s. For the first few months, he enjoyed the freedom of having no schedule and no responsibilities. But after about 6 months, he started to feel aimless. He missed the sense of purpose that his work had given him, and he struggled to figure out how to fill his days. Frank eventually found a new sense of purpose by volunteering at a local nonprofit, where he used his legal expertise to help people in need. Not only did this give him a renewed sense of purpose, but it also allowed him to stay mentally sharp and engaged with his community. As you approach retirement, it's important to think about what will give your life meaning in this next phase. Whether it's volunteering, pursuing a passion, or spending more time with family, having a sense of purpose will make your retirement years more fulfilling and rewarding. Conclusion: the time to act is now. The advice from those who have walked this path before you is clear. The decisions you make in your 50s and 60s will shape the rest of your life. This is a time to be intentional about how you spend your time, money, and energy. Don't wait until it's too late to start living the life you want. Take the lessons shared here about recognizing the sweet spot of life, balancing your time, saying no, investing in your health, and finding purpose, and apply them to your own life. Whether it's making time for the things that matter most, outsourcing tasks that drain your energy, or planning for a meaningful retirement, the choices you make now will pay dividends in the years to come. So, what are the 2 or 3 pieces of advice that resonate most with you? Write them down, reflect on them, and start taking action today. Your future self will thank you. Thank you for watching the entire video. If you find these stories inspiring and motivating, please comment 1. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.